What's up guys, Googan Barbecue here. Today we're cooking a pork butt and a chuck roast. I'll show you how to get the pit started, get those temperatures up, get the rub on the meat, and get them on the smoker. Alright guys, so we're going to get this meat prepped. We're going to go ahead and score the top of the pork butt and get a nice rub on it. Now, a rub I really like, and it's not a sponsor, just somebody I met on Instagram and I really like it, is Blazing Star Reaper Rub or Scorpion Rub. And it's really good. It's got like a sweet heat to it, and it's been a really good crowd favorite for everybody I've cooked ribs or pork with. It's got a lot of brown sugar in it, so I recommend checking it out. Again, it's veteran owned, but it's not a sponsor by, they didn't give it to me, I paid for it. So check it out. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is score this fat cap on this pork butt. You can see it's kind of got a bald spot. That was already done by the butcher. So nothing you can do about that. Sometimes that's just the way it is. You don't want to score too deep into the meat, but just get a good score on that fat cap. And we'll go this way as well. All right, that looks pretty good. So we're gonna get our rub on there now. And I'm gonna flip this over. So this is gonna be it's gonna be fat cap up for my cook. So I'm gonna flip this over since this will be kind of the presentation side. We'll go ahead and get this rub on the bottom first. And you don't really rub it in, it's more so like you pat it in there a little bit, press it in. You don't want to be rubbing or smearing or anything like that. Make sure you get all sides really well. And you can be pretty liberal with it. And we'll get that fat cap really good. All right, and then for the chuck roast, we're just gonna do salt and pepper. I've already put salt on it, and I'll just do a little bit of coarse pepper and some garlic powder. Keep it pretty simple with the chuck roast. All right, so that's looking pretty good. All right, so we're gonna get this meat on the pit. You can see my Inkbird. I don't know if you can see from this far away, but it says 269 degrees. This is the first time I've been using this new monitoring system, but the actual gauge on the smoker says around 225. So 270 on the Inkbird, 225 on the actual pit temperature gauge. So I'm not sure about what the discrepancy is there. I've got the Inkbird probe at grate level, and pretty close to where that one is on the door. So we'll just have to see what kind of discrepancies we get, what kind of differences we get between the two. But right now the Inkbird says 272. It's rising a little bit. That's exactly where I want to cook, at 275. So we're going to get these on the pit. You can see that smoke is pretty thin and blue. As I mentioned in my other video, if it's a little dirty for a little bit, it's not going to affect the meat too much, and it will give it a little bit of flavor, extra flavor. if you go ahead and have billowing white smoke throughout the cook, then you're going to get a little bitter taste on the meat, a little acidic taste. It's not going to taste as well. So it's really balancing the amount of smoke and the color of smoke that comes out is really the key to having really good smoky tasting meat. So let's get these on the pit. And we're going to do the thickest part of the butt towards the fire, and we'll get this chuck roast on there as well. You can see the placement of the meat probe I have. So I've got it in the middle, but at great level. So that's saying that's 270, and we'll see how accurate that is. So we got it on here now. Now it's just a waiting game. And it's time to spritz the meat. It's been about 2 hours and temperatures are really coming up. So let's see what everything looks like first. Let's open up this pit. Oh yeah, it's getting a really nice color. I really like it. I'm monitoring temperatures today with the Inkbird. It's been doing pretty good. And the temperature monitoring is, for the grate level is pretty instant. You can see it was at around 245 degrees. Now it's dropped all the way down under 200 since I opened up the cooking chamber. So I'm pretty happy with it. I'll show you a graph at the end, see how it's been doing. Let's go ahead and spritz our meat. It is getting a little dry, so I just got pickle juice. And I like pickle juice when I'm spritzing, so let's get that on there. And this one, we'll just go through the top grate and get that all nice and moist. It smells really good. Not too wet, but just enough to keep the outside bark nice and moist, get us a nice color. You can really start to see the fat starting to render on that butt there. So that's looking pretty good. Chuck roast is at a temperature around 145 internal, and the pork butt is about 130. So we're moving right along. Let's go ahead and close this. It's time to add another piece of wood. Let's see what the firebox is doing here. Oh, it looks like our wood rolled off, so that's why the temperature's dipped. So let's just get that back closer to the coals. Try not to be too shaky here with the camera. Let's get that in there nice and good. All right. Hopefully I didn't push too many coals off. See if we can get that relit. There we go. So that should heat things up pretty quickly again. I may throw another split on here in a little bit. But I think this will get us back up the temperatures pretty quickly. All right, so once our meat gets up to about 160 to 170 degrees internal temperature, I'm gonna wrap them. Probably gonna do foil wrap today, and we'll just see how that goes for us. So stay tuned. All right, so it's time to wrap our meats. Oh yeah, baby, look at that. That's our chuck roast right there. Get that set on the double layer of aluminum foil. That's looking like a meteorite. Here's our pork butt. It's looking amazing. Get that over here. And we're just gonna wrap these up, put them back on the smoker. Right now the pork butt's at 167 degrees internal, and the chuck roast is at 165. So get these wrapped up. I'll probably pull them off around 200, 203 degrees. Really probe tenderness is what I'm going for. If it feels like going into peanut butter or room temperature butter, that's what I'm really going for. Get them nice and tight. And back on the smoker they go. I just pulled the pork butt and the chuck roast off of the grill, off the smoker, and we can see what the pork butt looks like. Oh man, that looks good. You can see the bone separating. It'll pull right out. I'm gonna let these, kind of steam, release some steam here. And I'm gonna wrap them back up. I'm actually gonna save them for an event tomorrow. So when I go to pull this, we'll see how well it pulls apart. But I can just tell you with that bone pullback right there, it's gonna be pretty good. And let's take a look at the chuck roast now. Oh, here's our chuck roast. Man, that's looking really, really good. I'm gonna wrap this back up after it steams out a little bit. And when I go to put both of these, when I reheat them, I'm gonna keep them wrapped up, probably reheat them around 300 degrees until they hit an internal temperature of 160 degrees. And then I'll pull them apart, pull out the meat, put them back on the smoker and firm up this bark a little bit, because you can see it's gotten a little wet, but still got a really, really good color. So overall, I'm really happy with this cook. I hope that I provided some really good tips and tricks for you guys. And at the end of the video, I'll show you how everything turned out. I'll slice up this chuck roast and we'll pull the pork butt and see how it looks. So you can see our pork is just really pulling apart really easily. I'm sorry I didn't get to show you the chuck roast. I'm actually saving that for tomorrow for my family. But overall, this cook went really well. I hope you guys enjoy watching me cooking on this Pits and Spits offset. I'll see you in the next video.